So recently I went on a road trip. The road trip was basically with my friends and family, and we were going to the mountains because the views on top of the mountains are absolutely amazing. And I know my friends, my family, and I are all big fans of nature. And so that's why we decided to go on one big road trip to the mountains. And so we got to the day of the massive road trip, and I was driving and everyone was in my car. And so we started going to the mountains. So I was driving with everyone, and eventually we got to the base of the mountain, and this is where we start like going up and up in circles. And so that's what I did. I started driving. It was sometimes a bit slow because you have to be careful as you turn the corners, or there's just random things like falling down because the mountain's so steep. And so it definitely took a few hours. It took a very long time, but eventually I got to the top of the mountain. And when I got to the top, the views were absolutely breathtaking. And I remember when I just got out of my car and I just saw the vast scene and how everything looked so small, and the fact that I put in so much work planning and driving up there, I could finally enjoy my efforts or enjoy the seeds that I've sown. But then something strange happened. I looked around and I thought I would see my friends and family out, looking at the views as well, but it was empty. They went outside. They still hadn't left the car. And so that was a bit strange. And so I went to the car and I checked, but they were all gone. No one was in the car. And then, I called them. I was wondering where they're at. And I realized that they were still at home. They never left. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is not because this is a real story. It didn't happen, but it represented something that did. So, back in high school, I always had a lone wolf mentality. I'm going to make it by myself. I'm going to put in all this effort, and I'm going to make it to the top of the mountain. I'm going to succeed, get good grades, get rich, all these worldly desires. I'm going to do it by myself, and everyone's a competitor to me. And I'm going to, outcompete everyone. I genuinely thought life was a zero-sum game. I thought if someone else wins, that means I've lost. I couldn't see the reality where both people won. And so the reason I shared this made-up story with you is because it made me realize that success without the right people, without the people you care about, means nothing. You can try extremely hard. You can go through as many obstacles or challenges as you want. You can spiral up the mountain. You can reach the peak of success. But if you reach there and you're alone, then what's the point? And I know that this is maybe something that not everyone agrees with, and that's fine. But for me personally, my biggest nightmare is for the hustle to end and for there to be no one to celebrate with. That was almost the case back in year 11 when I got really high grades. I got basically in the top of my school. And I realized that no one was there that I could genuinely celebrate with. That we've been through the journey together. We've been through, all the obstacles, all the hardships. And we could genuinely celebrate and reflect on all the good times. And it was because at that time I just had that, that zero-sum mindset that everyone else out there is a competitor. It's me versus the world. And it's only after I had that realization did I the next year make a massive change. And it's actually when I reached out to this girl who was who was getting good grades, who was a competitor of sorts. But we worked together. We became great friends. And eventually, with her help as well, and with this mutual support, that's how I ended up achieving even better grades after. And so, as Hormozi puts it, sometimes success isn't the destination or the journey, but sometimes it's just the company. Sometimes that's the most important thing. And to give you the opposite example, there's times where I've had no success. I've been through failures, or I've been through really just awkward or difficult situations, but I've still enjoyed it because of the people. And a funny example comes to mind. I remember back in year 9, we had to do this mud course where we were basically like shirtless and we had to roll across like mud because this was like, I don't know, some activity they did. And we were like so messy that there was just like mud and dirt and just like, just random shit in your face and all over your body. And we were just doing laps around it. But reflecting back on that experience, it was genuinely fun. Not because what we did or where we did it, but who we did it with. I did it with some of my closest friends, and we still talk about that as, a great memory we have. And so the final takeaway or the final realization that I've had is that it's not you against the world. Perhaps a more accurate way to say it, it's you and your homies against the world. And it's very important to find who that close group of friends are for you. Because as I had this conversation with a close friend of mine, he was like to me, "You are a certified homie, my first Chinese homie." But again, it's the reminder that if the hustle ends, I hope that there's someone there to celebrate with.